Welcome to ICS Arabia, and I'm glad you are watching us and for a new episode with Dieter Sarrazen from Belgium. He's expert in ICS, OT, cybersecurity. And hi, Dieter. How are you, man?
Good morning, Suleiman. I'm very well,
Good
thank
morning.
you.
It must be early in Belgium right now. What
No,
time
no,
is it?
no. Actually, it's 9 o'clock in the morning, so it's very good.
Oh, 9 o'clock. Okay.
So my
It's
kids are
11
going
here.
to school, and I'm all alone, silent in my home. So it's good.
Ah, they are in school. All right. All right. Well, it's 11 a.m. here in Kuwait, so it's only 2 hours difference. So,
That's good.
yep. Why don't you tell us, please, about yourself? When did you start, and what's your relationship with OT security since when?
Okay. So my name is Dieter Sarrazen. I work in information security. I'll start with that since '97. So that's already, let me count, a lot of time, almost 30 years.
Yeah.
Um, my background in OT security, well, it came because one of the customers at the company I was working back then, that was in 2008, asked to do a really big penetration testing on two of their main facilities in the energy sector, so energy production. So that got me triggered. That test, the result was not that really good for them, but okay. So they asked me then to help them out in securing their environment, making sure that the nobody else doing penetration testing or nobody else trying attacking them can succeed in doing what I did back then. So since then, I'm working in OT cybersecurity. That's almost 17 to 18 years as of now. And I started up my own company back in 2015. So I'm now doing OT cybersecurity services for several of my customers in Belgium and worldwide if needed.
Oh, okay.
So
Interesting.
yeah,
Yep.
not a information on
Please
my
go ahead.
background. So background is industrial engineer in electronics. So I could join the IT knowledge I obtained through my previous works and the industrial and knowledge I obtained and combine it all together into OT cybersecurity.
Interesting. And uh, and what kind of services do you offer most of the time?
Well, me and my company, so I'm independent, but I work together with other
All
freelance
right.
consultants. We deliver almost everything from assessing all the way down to policy writing within environments. The only thing that we do not do anymore is implementation of security features. We'd like to be more in the controlling and verifying seat, as you will, to make sure that integrators and vendors have been doing their work properly and securely. And this is often, yeah, too much. It's not really the case. So that's really why security FAT and SAT is really important. So to make sure that the integrators, the vendors that organizations use follow the requirements that have been set for cybersecurity and that they have implemented everything correctly as they promised that they would do.
Interesting. I mean, is there a problem of implementing security controls? I mean, did it cause a lot of problems? That's why you avoided it, or is it kind of time consuming, or why are you not doing it? I mean,
Actually, that's a question for the integrators and vendors. Why are they not doing it? Uh,
okay.
in the beginning, most of the times it was not knowing what needs to be done on cybersecurity, not really taking care about it, not really thinking it through. Um, but I think that is changing though, that nowadays in Belgium we have the NIS2 laws from Europe, which requires cybersecurity to be done on several levels and which puts the board into the liability position. So that's also another thing. Cybersecurity was back in the days always seen as an extra cost, waste of time, waste of effort,
Mhm.
until something happened, of course, until the organization hit a brick wall of somebody attacking them and deploying some ransomware or
Okay.
doing something else on their machines that they cannot produce anymore. So cybersecurity is becoming more and more a really hot topic. And then that comes together with the testing, of course.
I see. Okay. I mean, we agreed we will talk today about FAT and SAT because
Yes.
I think you like this topic, and I think this is what you're doing as a part of your
It's a
services,
part
right?
of what I'm doing, yes.
Yes. So let's dig into it, and please, could you just define the terminology so the audience will understand what does FAT and SAT mean, please?
So I start with the regular FAT and SAT. Regular FAT is factory acceptance testing, and regular SAT is a site acceptance testing, in which that all requirements of a solution to the integrator or vendor is verified. So in functional testing, that everything is working as it should before deploying it at the organization's facility. And then at the site acceptance testing, everything is that was not correct or not done properly is checked again. So several years ago, we started doing security testing during FAT and SAT. That was already back then in 2000. I think we started in 2008 or 9 with that. Is that because cybersecurity is an important element of an organization. And we thought it was a very good idea to implement cybersecurity testing during FAT to make sure that systems being brought into the environment are already secure as much as possible. Of course, you cannot do 100% security. That's nearly impossible. But that systems have been tested, have been verified according to requirements that have been set by an organization, if you set requirements. So that everything is tested properly, that the vendor and integrator have time to fix things before coming on site for the commissioning for the SAT. And then during SAT, everything is verified again, making sure that everything that needed to be fixed is fixed, everything that is done according to requirements, and that there's no new security issues introduced by the actions that have been taken. So we try to, by doing security FAT, SAT testing, we try to fulfill the cybersecurity supply chain, as you will, for bringing in new systems into the organization. There's already other parts within the supply chain as well, but that's for another topic, I think. Yeah.
Okay. So what I understood from you, I mean, is SAT is done after the FAT, normally.
Yes.
And what are the reasons? Like, if you go more details, please.
Yeah. There's in the FAT. I don't know if you can show a slide.
Yeah, please share. It will be
I'll
better.
see if I can show you a slide. Just a second.
Okay.
My computer. Oh, I'll have to show a picture. I'll take a picture. Just a second. Let me see if this works. Image file. No, doesn't work. Anyhow.
Yeah.
Why the security sat behind or after the security FAT is actually in the FAT, the factory acceptance testing is happening at the vendor location or integrator location.
Yeah.
It's more in a test setup. And actually that is the for new situations, new installations, the only moment in time that you can do testing all the way. I like to call it the full Monty style, that you can even do denial of service testing, that you can even do malware testing and stuff like that. And the reason why it's done before SAT is at the organization site. The site acceptance testing is done right before commissioning and is used as the validation point to make sure this is now the situation that we bring into our environment. These are all the things that we've discovered during FAT. These have been fixed. And these are the remaining risks within the new installation. And it's then up to the organization to take those remaining risks with the new installation and see what other mitigation measures can be taken within the organization's environment to reduce the risk as much as possible. So yeah, I don't know if that
So
answers your question a bit.
yeah. So the main goal is to reduce the risk that was left after the fat, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Still try to present, just a second. Try again.
Yeah, sure. So the site is more to focus on security rather than the factory or
Yes.
functionality.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see my
Sure.
screen.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll share it now.
So this is actually what I was talking about. Security fat testing. So this is, you see on top the functional fat and the functional SAT. On the bottom you see security FAT, security SAT. If you go all the way back to the left during the procurement, this is where normally the requirements should be set, security requirements by the organization. And this is also the place where normally a risk assessment is done to make sure that the risks within the new environment are calculated properly, are checked properly, and so on. If you go then in engineering, this is actually where the integrator or vendor needs to be doing every work to implement it. And construction or design it as well. And in construction, we build it, but there's also location where functional FAT is done at the vendor's facilities, but also security FAT should be done at the same time.
Okay.
The reason why I always propose to do that at the same time as the functional testing is a very simple one. It's the only occasion where everybody will be in the room, meaning the integrator or the vendor, the operations team, maintenance team, and so on of the organization, of the asset owner. So if something happens during security FAT testing, like a system goes blank or a system crashes or whatever, the maintenance team and the operations teams will know what this could mean for their system when they're under attack.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So this is a construction phase. Of course, every issue that we discover during construction, during security FAT, should be fixed before going into commissioning, before going into the site to deploy the solution. And then we go with security SAT, that when we really recheck and retest everything to make sure that all the issues found during FAT are solved and that there's no new issues introduced. And as I explained also at the back, so after commissioning, when the system is in production and operation, we get to define the residual risk, the remaining risks that need to be fixed by the organization themselves, because now it's no longer the vendor into play, but it's the organization taking the maintenance and operations of the solution. And then all the way at the bottom here, you see recurring testing. This is actually beyond FAT, SAT testing, but it can be used to make sure that the newly deployed system is behaving correctly over time. So let's say testing in another year. If the system is not maintained properly, so not patched, if you can patch, not hardened properly and stuff like that, you will see deterioration on the security level over time. And this is something to take care and to take into consideration for your overall cybersecurity plans.
Interesting. And how long normally it takes? I mean, to do that or that from your experience?
It all depends. I'll explain myself. So it all depends on the size of the system and solution that needs to be tested. So for single systems, it doesn't take more than a day. So I usually, for single systems, one server, one PC, I come in, do my testing for a half a day, and then do the reporting, the boring stuff, for another half a day, and that is done. But if you're talking about doing FAT testing on a very big DCS environment, for example, so distributed control system, it can take to a week, even 2 weeks for doing proper FAT testing. And you can also run into other occasions where you do testing for 2 days, that you found lots of stuff that the vendor integrator didn't do properly on cybersecurity. And then you have to go back to do a second FAT or a third FAT. So I've been into occasions where I've done 4 FATs over the whole engineering and construction period to make sure that the system being delivered to the site was actually really secure before going to commissioning. So that was a really interesting exercise. And then I think after the 4th time testing, I only found some minimal issues that were not covered yet. So that was an interesting approach in doing multiple FATs and not only one FAT and one SCT. Excuse me. So the goal during FAT and SAT is actually testing your cybersecurity requirements, which should be based, if possible, on the IEC 62443, 3.3 if you want. So the cybersecurity requirements for systems. But at the same time, we also check the cybersecurity requirements for suppliers. That's actually -2, -4, in which the actions that the cybersecurity supplier or integrator or vendor that needs to be taken is really covered properly. So the goal is also during FAT and SAT is to verify the promises that the integrators and vendors have been done through the IEC 62443-2-4 or -3-3. So making sure that those promises are certainly checked and validated to prove what they said is actually true. So my advice is always trust your integrator or vendor, but verify what they are telling you.
Interesting. So, from cybersecurity perspective, what normally the vendors promised you or promised to deliver? What do you test normally after them? For example, if you give us some scenarios or some
things that I
test.
test during FAT, SAT. I think I normally have another slide on that. Another presentation. I don't have it here.
Please, yeah.
But actually, the things that I'm testing is during FAT testing, what I usually do is I just look at the system at first time. I check how the application is started, if it's started using autologon, is it started using a local administrator account, and so on and so on. The next thing is I look at the operator gel, if there's any operator protection, meaning that a lot of HMIs start up automatically on the system and they prevent or they try to prevent operators from having access to the operating system itself.
Oh.
So I try to break out of that operator gel. So trying to launch a command prompt or a notepad or a browser window or whatever so that it can have access to the actual operating system itself. Another part of testing is looking at the network side. So connect a laptop to the environment that needs to be tested, or is it a switch or a system itself? Use a vulnerability scanner to check and a port scanner to check for open port, check for known vulnerabilities on the system. That will also show you if the local host firewall is enabled or not. That's a quick checking of low-hanging fruit, actually. The second part in the network testing is doing an authenticated scan, is using an account on the system or systems to make sure that you can test the configuration of the servers, check for things that you haven't seen through an unauthenticated scan. Following after that, so unauthenticated scan, authenticated scan with using vulnerability scanner. Another part is doing a complete system analysis. So I usually take a dump of every single configuration file of a system I can imagine of using a script and analyze that offline to make sure that the operating system is still up to date. The vulnerability scanner will show it as well. The patch level, if there's antivirus configured, the installed software, is it updated or not, services running, local policies that are configured, and so on and so on. All that kind of stuff on the system itself. And I think that's basically it, except for the physical part of the FAT. So whenever you have a system, also check the physical access to that system, the system itself. If the system is put in a rack, is there, for example, an alarm on the rack door? Are there regular keys used and stuff like that? On the system, can I connect USB keys, other keys, other dongles, or whatever? So actually, during FAT, I try to abuse the system as much as possible to make sure, or to try to compromise the system in one way or another. But at the same time, making sure that all requirements set forward are checked.
Yeah. Would you like to share any slide for this?
I'm
can.
checking if I have a good slide for that. Just a second.
Take your time. We're not in a hurry.
I have several slides in FAT SCT testing. Wait a minute, I can show you this one.
Okay.
That's for a conference I gave earlier on. Let me check if I can make this bigger. So I've done this. I'll just show my screen. Just a second.
Yeah, take your time.
Share window. Share this window.
This is
It
like
should be visible now.
Yep, it is. Yes.
Okay.
All right.
So I'll walk you through a little bit the presentation. So this is testing process. So the preparation, testing, and reporting. This is actually a talk I gave at the ISC conference in Copenhagen. I think it's 3 years ago I gave this one. This it's preparation. You need the context for doing the testing. So know where the device will reside, know how it will be used, know if there's file transfer or remote access, and so on and so on. This is all about the accessibility of the system in the future environment. A lot of customers ask me the question, look, do we really need to do all this kind of stuff, doing security testing, doing hardening of a system if it's really standalone? So, okay, standalone can be considered okay. And then the next week they ask, yeah, but the vendor wants to have remote access to it. Yeah, the whole thing changes, of course, because the moment you have remote access, it's connected to a network environment and can be used to potentially connect to that network environment. So that's why security testing in that part is important. So check security requirements. I'll just quickly go through some slides. Preparation is done, preparation testing. So on the testing side, I talked about this already. So we do logical testing. So checking for open ports, checking vulnerabilities, checking the system robustness. So denial of service, but only during FAT, checking the system settings and so on. On logical testing part, checking anti-malware, if there's any malware installed or anti-malware solution installed. I always say, do not use ICAR because that's detected anyhow. Every single malware detection tool will know that. I always say, in FAT, you can use real malware samples. But you have to take care, of course, that there is a backup or a snapshot of the system on which you are testing this. I've done this recently for another customer in which a USB sanitization tool was deployed, but they were not really sure if it was deployed properly. And sure enough, I've tested 3 situations, 3 setups, and one of them did not succeed in cleaning the USB sticks. So that's why testing is also important, making sure that everything works. So the passwords need to be tested. And this is the operator jail breakout testing I was telling about. Is trying to break out an operator jail. So play the what if the game. What can I do as an operator of a system? What can I do as an engineer, as an administrator, as an operating system administrator, and so on. I won't go too in detail of the operator jail testing now, but if you want, I gave a talk together with a colleague of mine a while ago. It should be on YouTube. The link is in the screen here, in which operator jail breakouts are explained properly.
Okay. I will link in the description.
Excuse me?
I will link it in the description later.
Yeah. So this is another part where the physical testing is really important. So the reachability of the ports of a system. So this is, again, you need to understand the context and the location where the device will be used in. and where it will be placed in. If the system will be placed into an isolated area, yes or no, if it will be standalone in a reception building, and so on. So these pictures are actually systems that the vendor claimed that nobody would be able to access the network port. But if you look closely here, where's the mouse here, you see there's a network port connector device. So some small junction thing of two Ethernet cables, that white thing here. Here we can access the network cables, and here I could also plug out the network cables on below the device. So this is why the physical aspect of the FAT-SAT testing is also important to look at. Another part of the FAT-SAT testing, more in SAT at this point in time, understanding is the environment in which the system will be placed. So if there's any smoke detectors, motion detectors, batch readers, backdoor alarms used, locks used, and so on, that helps in protecting the logical security through doing physical security. And of course, reporting is the most fun part. Let me see if there's other things I can show in this slide. Maybe something about the jump bank.
Okay.
So tools you could use during your FAT and SAT testing.
Cool.
First of all, some USB devices. So in almost every single location, USB ports cannot be blocked for a simple reason that they have to be able to use USB keyboards and USB mouses. But this opens the door to connecting USB to Ethernet connectors. And the fun thing with this one is, so if you have a hardened system in which the network settings of a Windows device in this case are really configured like that you only are allowed to have TCP/IP, for example. If you connect USB to Ethernet device to your system, you will have a new interface with everything enabled on it. So USB keys, then here a rubber ducky USB key, can also use that. On the physical part, also important for your testing, I call them panel or door opening devices. Actually, keys and Rital keys and some screwdrivers that you can use. Serial cables are also important to have. All kinds of serial cables, real serial cable and real USB serial cables, and other things. A camera device to make sure you take proof of the testing, and some tweezers. So you might ask, why tweezers? Well, in some occasions, I have some, I call it fat fingers. I can't always reach into small things. So that's why I use tweezers to pull out cables and insert cables into the things that I test. But you also asked for some things to be tested. Let me check another presentation. I have some more material on that part.
Cool, man. That's interesting. This is like stretching the imagination of when we mention FAT and SAT. Now we can imagine all the things that you just showed us, and it will be more vivid. Yeah. So
Let me check. I have here somewhere another.
because FAT and SAT sounded very dry before, but now when you showed these tools and what you do with them, it's becoming
It
like
sounds
more.
very dry indeed, but actually during FAT-SAT testing, when you start doing it in a new environment, it's really fun. Because in FAT, it's almost the only point in time where you can try to break things. Excuse
You
me.
have the green light. You have the green light to break things at this stage,
But break things. You have to
which
take
is
that with a
fun.
grain of salt, of course. You cannot break it physically, of course.
Yeah.
But you have to make sure that you test every single thing out there to make sure that everything is properly configured and properly done. Let me check. I had some there. This. I think I mentioned everything.
Okay.
Yeah, if you search my name on Google and on FAT, the SAT testing, you'll probably find other talks about this that I gave in the past.
True.
So yeah, so there's also some things on the challenge and the lessons learned that I can tell you. On the challenges, of course, is getting permission to do testing like this
Yeah.
is one of the first.
Mhm.
In FAT, that's almost never a question. Because you are in a test environment, you can do everything.
You can do. Yeah.
The only thing is that the challenge there is that the integrator or vendor is not always happy that you come in as an external from the organization or from the asset owner to do testing, and they start claiming, well, we've done testing already. Here's the report. But yeah,
Mhm.
did you test and verify everything? Did you check every single thing in the box? Did you do every single test possible? Did you use your imagination to be able to break into the system? So that's also another element is you have to try to think outside of the box. Try to think about ways of getting in to an environment that you are testing. Some lessons learned is that, well, have a good testing checklist. Make sure that everything on the testing checklist is used, and evolve your testing checklist while you're doing testing. So like the tweezers I've shown you earlier in one of the slides is actually a finding that I added in my toolkit, I think only 2 years ago, because I had a situation in which I had a system in front of me, an HMI system, which was completely locked down. There was a box around it, and I saw that there was USB cables in them, but I think there was this amount of place that I needed to be able to reach the USB cable. So I could only, with my fingers, I could only reach up to here, so I couldn't add them. I couldn't reach the USB cable. So that's why I used tweezers to pull the USB cable out and stick a USB stick in it. So you evolve over time in tooling that you use, in ways that you're doing testing. So with the NIS2 regulation in Europe, I've added other tests that need to be done during FAT and SAT testing, because a lot of the requirements within the regulations stipulate that, for example, you have to have certain configuration in place, you have to have data encryption in place, and so on. And those tests need to be added as well. So you have to be ready to evolve. During SAT is lessons learned there is be prudent in what you're doing then, because you're very close to commissioning. If you break a system because of testing during SAT, you won't have a happy day, because they will be both on your back. So asset owner will be on your back, and the vendor integrator will be on your back because you broke the system and they had to commission tomorrow, for example. That's not really a good day. So I used to say you can do every single test in SAT as you do in FAT, but that's not really the case. So you cannot change configurations anymore. You cannot do denial of service testing anymore and that kind of stuff. You still have to verify the findings of the FAT test during SAT, but you cannot go all the way anymore during SAT testing.
Yep. Cool. I mean, one question comes to my mind: if if you are allowed to break things in the fact stage, uh, somebody might ask, what's the point of doing that? Because in the production, maybe you will not have the attacker won't have the capability to do that, so he won't be able to break it. For example, using Nmap, for example, I'm sure in the FAT you can use Nmap and cause traffic, and
Yes.
you cause it to break, but in the production you might not be able to, or somebody might not be able because he won't be in the network, maybe. You know what I mean? So how do you answer
It
that?
it all depends. You say you might not have the capability. For taking Nmap as the example, Nmap can be installed on any laptop you want, if you have. But it all depends. Depends on the maturity of your organization in the asset owner. Depends of the physical security of the site, depends on the logical security of the site. So for example, if you have a high secure zone and you'll allow vendors or integrators to use their own laptops to connect to your environment during SAT or during production for doing maintenance work, you could have a risk, of course, because that laptop could contain whatever you can imagine, so a port scanner or whatever. So you still can have that kind of attacks inside a production environment.
Yeah.
The other thing you have to keep in mind is that attackers, they have time. When they want to attack you, they will find a way to break through your protective measures. So it's the goal then is to make sure that the systems that you have are well protected, and that you buy yourself time because of doing that, so that you have more time in detecting them and more time in making sure that they can't do any harm to your environment. So FAT SAT testing is also about the testing of those security protective capabilities of your systems and making sure that you have bought yourself enough time by doing that.
Okay, so what if you've done some tests on during the FAT stage and the vendors failed to make his promise, and he told you because the systems are not capable because they are designed this way, they are weak,
Yes.
or so in case, what would you do? Do you talk to the asset owner, or what do you do normally?
Yeah, that's a good question, because a lot of occasions you have underneath software that depends on certain levels of patching, certain levels of other things installed, and vulnerable libraries and things like that, because that's how it's designed. A lot of cases when doing testing, I'm testing solutions that were bought 5 to 10 years ago, because it takes time to produce them. So in that case, when there are certain dependencies on vulnerable things or vulnerable situations, that's flagged as a risk, and that's taken up into a discussion with the asset owner together with the integrator or vendor. Look, we've identified this risk, for example, lack of patching, and there's no firewall, meaning that everybody on the network, on that particular network, could potentially exploit the system. If that's a requirement to do it like that, because of legacy reasons, because of DCS software reasons, or other OT software reasons, that risk is then discussed with the vendor. Look, this is the risks. How can we potentially mitigate or implement mitigating measures to lower that risks to an acceptable level? So then we have to cooperate. The asset owners, integrators, and potentially vendors as well need to cooperate on how can we make sure that this risk that has been identified during FAT that cannot be fixed because of certain reasons, how can we make sure that is protected well enough, or that we have enough time to detect somebody attacking that system? So it might be that you have to install additional firewalls, additional network segmentation, or shielding from other networks, or implement a USB sanitization station if you cannot block USB port, for example, but you can implement a scanning station that you have to use first to be able to connect on the device with USB sticks and so on. So you can, it's not a black and white story. So if you look at the requirements, you do FAT testing, you identify all the issues, then you discuss those issues with both parties. In my occasion, it's asset owner and vendor, and you see where can we come to a middle ground to an acceptable level of security while still allowing functionality. So as always, cybersecurity is a trade-off between the real cybersecurity requirements and the pragmatic, the usability of the system, the functionality of the system. In no way it's the goal of impacting functionality by implementing cybersecurity features. But the one thing, as a tester, as an FAT, SAT tester, the one thing you have to be capable is use those risks, try to find out how these could be abused within the asset owner's environment, and how they could be fixed or mitigated in that same environment. So, yeah.
Okay, yeah, got it. Okay, what about risk assessment? I mean, does it come before FATSAT, or after, or during, or is the FATSAT included in the risk assessment
I would
stage?
like to split that up a bit. So in the slide I showed you earlier, there's a risk assessment all the way at the beginning.
Sure.
The first thing you should do is determine the criticality of the system. How critical is that, or will that system be for the asset owner? And depending on that criticality level, you will have less or more security requirements. Yeah. So the risk assessment is done or is started back at that point in time, but using all the input from the FAT testing, you can complete the risk assessment. So in the slide I've shown you with the timeline all the way at the back, there's a residual risk assessment. So the risk assessment starts with the criticality assessment, goes all the way through the project to the end when you do criticality residual risk assessment, when all the risks that you have not been able to mitigate are listed and discussed with the asset owner. How can we mitigate this further? So in my opinion, FAT-ACT security FAT-ACT testing is part of the risk assessments. Or it should be part of it.
Yeah, interesting. So it's a good idea to have both at the same time.
Yeah.
According to what
you could do a risk assessment without doing testing, but then it remains a paper-based exercise.
paper.
It remains something they said that they do, but you have no real tangible proof of what they do. So that's why the FAT testing and SCT testing comes into play to like I said, trust but verify. Trust what they say, but verify if it's implemented like that.
Especially if it's too late, like if it's in production, then they cannot do it anymore. So
no, if you run into production and you have still several risks, you have to find out as asset owner, how can I mitigate those to lower those risks to an acceptable level for my organizations. Sometimes it's well possible. I've had a customer like that in which the systems cannot be patched due to software requirements. But then we found another way of protecting that environment, so that the environment is completely shielded environment. Nobody can reach it logically from one network to another network and so on. So there's ways in building your security layers and making sure that the risks identified during FAT and SAT are minimized as much as possible.
okay. I have a question. I'm sure. I mean, you've had lots of experience in this. What happens if you face a new system or a new device that you've never dealt before with? How do you cope? How do you learn as you go? What do you do normally?
Take a step back and think. No, all joking aside, if there's a device I've never run into, like I said, I take the same approach. I find out more information, or try to find more information about the system, try to read myself into that system. If there's firmware of that system online to be found, excuse me, I already download the firmware and try to analyze that firmware. So regardless of the system, the steps needed to be taken are just the same as any other system. But the only thing is you have to be pragmatic and take a physical check on the system to be able to do the testing. So, but the actual steps are just the same. So I don't distinguish between systems I never run into or other systems. But the first physical inspection is important. Like the other day, I got a request for one of my customers that need to be tested, a certain PLC, only the PLC. Okay, let's have a look at the thing before I dig into the testing part. And there was not a single connection on it, not a single Ethernet connection on it. So that rules out already logical testing. So I can't connect to the system with the laptop and scan it. That's not possible. But there was a USB port on it, USB serial port. So I just connected to that and I had full access to the device. So if you can't put a password on it, that's okay. You need to have physical access to the device, but everybody can connect to the device. And I think several years ago, I did a similar like test on the serial connection. Again, a device with only serial connection, even the old style serial connections, so DB9 port. They said, well, you can't do anything with it. You need to have a special software for it. Okay, I connected to it and I found out that I could send commands send characters to the serial port. So I started doing a little bit of fuzzing on that serial port, and sure enough, after I think if I sent hundreds random characters, the device just crashed. So I said, well, look, this is not good, but yeah, this is by design. We can't do anything about it. But then, yeah, okay, if you can't protect that serial port like that, you have to do other, as an owner then, you have to take other physical measures to protect that serial port from being connected to. So it all plays together very well. So you have the physical angle, you have the logical angle, but you also have the human angle. So who is connecting to it and who is taking it apart and things like that. So
what about if it's another industry, a new industry for you, like pharmaceutical, you've never touched before, or mining, for example? Do you take it, accept it, or do you say no? I want to learn about this industry. I mean, how do you approach as well?
I accept it.
You accept it immediately.
because to be fair with you, I work already in pharmaceutical, I work in
All right.
chemicals, I work in energy, in nuclear and stuff like that. So regardless the industry, the process of security FAT SAT stays the same. It doesn't matter. The only thing you have to take care about is the regulations for that specific industry, the specificities for that specific industry. So if you mention pharmaceutical, for example, yeah, they already have GMP systems, so we have to check if the security testing can be tapped into that or not. But for one of my customers in pharmaceutical, I do security testing, and I try to facilitate the people doing the qualification using the testing themselves or doing the testing themselves to speed up the thing. Because if you look at some environments, they have thousands of systems coming in, a new setup of lab systems, of weighing scales, of freezers, all that kind of things, and all have embedded systems in that. And you can't always test that the whole process I explained, so you can't do very much system analysis on it, but you still can scan it and still find out some things. So I think a particle monitor I tested crashed when I did a simple port scan to it. So yeah, it still pays off to do testing.
Interesting. So you are open to new adventures and new
Yes.
industries.
Yes.
Okay, cool. I like the spirit.
I don't say no to new systems.
Okay. So regarding that, what skills for FATSAT testers? I mean, what skills should they have? Should they have pen testing skills? What skills, in your opinion, for somebody to enter this area?
Should they have pen testing skills? It helps. But I think, first of all, you have to have a pragmatic vision, pragmatic approach. Don't take the IT approach. Don't come in with your testing laptop, connect to it, and start scanning without you knowing the environment. So you have to be pragmatic. You have to be able to do testing, of course. So, and testing can help in that. I also think that system and network administration skills help, because then you know how a good network and how a good system should be set up. So I've done 12 years system and network administrations as a side job of one of my employees. So pragmatic testing, system administration, and a good skill, but that's more a people skill, is being able to step outside of the box and think with a dirty mind. I explain myself. It's not a dirty mind in that kind of dirty. It's dirty mind in try to step back and look at the system. How would an attacker try to, or be able to try to attack that system? How would somebody be able to try to get in? And make sure that you cover all those angles. So it's a mix of different skills. Yeah, I've had that experience over the years, but yeah, you can build that pretty quickly though. So pen testing really helps. But it's not a rocket. It's not a one single skill you should have as a tester. As always within OT, don't take the IT approach.
Yeah.
Talk to the people, talk to operators, talk to engineers, talk to maintenance. For new systems, let them explain how the new system will be used in their environment. Try to understand that, and try to see where security will be important.
Got it. So it's a combination of skills, and
Yeah.
this will require a little bit of experience. So because
Yeah, also, but you, of course, you can always use. Let's take pen testing as an example again. If you do that as a junior tester, you can do the technical part of testing very well. That's no problem. But then you have to translate that into the environment of the asset owner, and that's the part where the experience comes into play.
yeah, exactly. Have you thought about authoring maybe a guide or a book for what you do? Because I couldn't find any available manuals and details like just like you mentioned, really. Or are there some guides available?
I have thought about that several times already.
Okay, so
I have not
I
started
knew.
it yet, but
Yes.
that's a good idea to put forward. So
Yeah, man, I'm encouraging you, man, because I've been in the field for almost now 14 years, and I haven't found a detailed approach like you mentioned, and
okay.
regarding that and that. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you have found. I don't know.
Well,
Are
I've
there any?
created one.
Huh?
I've
Okay.
created a guide that I'm using. So I have FATSA testing guidelines for my
Okay.
asset for my customers. So that's something certainly I could take with and create a bigger
Share with
guide
us.
for out there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Please do it. All right. Um, let's see what we haven't covered yet. I mean, what about, we haven't talked much about the IEC 62443. I mean, and the project life cycle, sorry.
Well, we talked about it a bit. So
A little bit, yeah.
I've mentioned several aspects already. So if you look at the IC 62443 in the project lifecycle, it all starts with the requirements. Yeah, your cybersecurity requirements for your systems and your solutions that need to be brought in. So you can base for your own security requirements, you can base yourself on the IC 62443-3-3, and that's one set. If you go to the manufacturers, you go to the -4 level. But the important one using security SAT is -3-3 and also the 62443-2-4. So the security requirements for ICS suppliers, in which we take all those requirements set into that, as well with the cybersecurity requirements for the systems. We combine those and we create a specific set to do testing on cybersecurity F18 SAT. I also talked about risk assessments. That's all tied together with the IC 62443-2-1, in which you have a security management system need to be set up. So all different aspects for the IC 62443 are covered during FAT SAT testing and during cybersecurity requirements and the risk assessments. So yeah, it's all based on that actually.
Okay. All right. So what are the challenges you faced so far? I mean, when dealing with customers, I mean, to conduct these test assessment, the common challenges you faced, or what are the
Common
mistakes
challenges.
the mistakes that they do? I mean, asset owners or.
Well, it's really the asset owners asking me to test and verify integrators and vendors. The mistake that the integrators and vendors are, not all of them, of course, are doing is just installing a system, not patching it, and then claim it was never part of the project. So cybersecurity, in my opinion, should be part of any single project out there. If you do it, you can't neglect it anymore. You can't not do it anymore.
Yeah.
But not patching a system before running into FAT, SAT is something that is, in my opinion, no longer not done. Also not thinking. So just taking a tool, installing it, and saying, well, with this tool, you get compliance to the IEC 62442. Well, yeah, no, you have to configure the tool properly. You have to be able to manage the tool properly. You have to do everything that needs to be done. So a lot of challenges and things that I think are done wrong is that cybersecurity is not being included as much as it should be as of the start within projects. So it's almost always an afterthought. So, oh yes, we need to have security as well. Oh yeah, okay. So something like that. Sometimes it's also perceived as being an extra cost to a project. And some vendors or integrators play with it nicely. So they state, if you want to have a cyber secure solution as well on your solution that you want, you have to pay extra for it. But I think to me it's a win-win if the vendors would implement cybersecurity from the start within their solutions without much extra cost or a small extra cost. It's a win-win because then they are recognized as being that vendor that does it securely from the start. And as from asset owner point of view, it's always too much an afterthought.
So yeah, so I can think from what you just said that the OT security awareness in Belgium is not so. Maybe there's a challenge, still still not mature enough. The culture.
It's still not mature enough. It's improving though. So we have the NIS2, as I mentioned, in Europe. In Belgium, we have the NIS2 law already as of last year. It's already in law. So every single entity that falls under that law needs to fulfill certain levels of cybersecurity within his or her organization. So things are changing rapidly. Excuse me. Things are changing rapidly on cybersecurity level within Belgium and within Europe because of the NIS2 regulations. A big game changer, in my opinion, there is that the board of asset owners, the board of organizations are now put liable for cybersecurity posture of their environment. So if there's a breach, for example, in their environment and they have not done or not taking the proper measures or mitigation measures, they might get sued or fined or whatever. So their ass is on the line now. This is a game changer. And this is also something we noticed for another company I worked for back in the days. I think it took them 4 to 5 years before the whole cybersecurity thing within OT kicked in. And this is now, because on these two laws, this is now getting a bit quicker, which is good.
Yeah. It's always the law that moves these people. Always the law. It's not.
But
it doesn't come from themselves. It's the law forced about them.
Yes,
something forced.
Now it's enforced, and the big risks with that, of course, is that cybersecurity within OT becomes a compliancy-based checklist approach, and we all know compliancy does not equal to good security. It is a start.
Yeah.
It helps, of course, but it's not the end game.
Yep. What happens if an incident happens? I mean, like a hack or whatever. Any incident, do they call you because you've done the FATSA? Do they include you in the process or no?
That's a good question. Whenever I hear something in the news like that, so there's a hack there, and my wife or my dad says, "Yeah, why don't you go and work for them?" So no, it's too late. They should have called me before that. So, trying to do instant handling, yeah, okay, that's a specific part. I can do that, but I'm not really like to do that because then you run behind the facts. Something happened, you have to bring them back online and stuff like that. I like to be before that, making sure that that doesn't happen. So that's also not 100% foolproof, I know. But I'd like my customers to call me before they have an incident to make sure that the risks or the probability of incidents, of having an incident, is lowered as much as possible.
Okay, I mean, what I meant, do your customers, your previous customers, if they got an incident, do they somehow blame you or call you?
No.
Why this happened? I mean,
No.
no, never. Huh?
Never had that. No. No, because
Yeah.
when you do testing, FAT, CT testing, you list all the possible risks at that point in time. That's a big thing. Yeah, it's at that point in time. So you cannot be held liable for any risks or any vulnerabilities or anything that is discovered a year later. That's not possible. You can't know that as a tester neither. You can indicate, look, this system will need to be protected like this or like that to lower the risks of anything happening.
Okay.
But you cannot be held liable for issues that are discovered a year later. Of course, in my regular customers, I go do testing and verification on a regular basis. So that's the recurring testing part. And then, of course, if you haven't done testing on a certain part and there's an incident or an event on a certain thing, we have to check, is it due to not having tested, not having discovered, or is it due to a maintenance decision that was taken or an operations decision that was taken, and so on. But in general, I never had bad relations with customers because of that.
Okay. And normally
Luckily.
it's written. And this is normally written in the contract that you're not held liable if anything happens.
Yes.
This is it. Okay.
Yes. Always cover your ass.
So you're protected.
If something happens, I still have insurance though, so always cover your ass, I said. So make sure. I can't do anything without proper insurance myself.
So you need insurance. You do your insurance yourself. I mean.
Yeah. So I'm because I'm doing testing.
What kind of insurance is it? What is it?
Liability insurance. So if I've done, for example, the example I gave during FAT, I'm allowed to try to break into the system or break the system or whatever, not to a certain part. But if I do, for example, testing, let's take testing in SAT, and something happens unexpectedly, that the system cannot function anymore properly, I then could be put liable for that. But that's a professional error at that point in time. So that's why I need professional liability insurance to make sure that I don't go bankrupt because of that. Such things can happen. Murphy is always very close by.
Yeah.
So it happened to me once. So when I was doing testing, that the customer did not know what was on his network. That was not in FAT, SAT testing, was regular testing, but I was just scanning an administrative network. But there was also an RTU on it that the asset owner didn't know about. So Sunday came to me, look, we lost all visibility. So oops, that was not good. So yeah. Luckily, with the reboot that was fixed. But to cover your own ass as tester, have a proper liability insurance.
Okay. Is it expensive to get this insurance or?
No. In my opinion, it's not expensive. So it's more expensive if you have no insurance and you have to pay out something. So that's more expensive.
So your advice for people who works with OT services is to have this kind of
yes,
insurance always.
Yes.
This is
certainly. I'm an independent. Certainly,
we don't have this in my country. Insurance.
No?
Normally, you just go and do your job. But it's good because in Europe it's different, I'm sure.
Yeah, but if you can have it, I would certainly recommend to have a liability insurance, just to make sure that you cover your ass as a professional person.
I don't know if it exists here in the insurance companies in Kuwait. I have to check.
Yeah. So, for example, it's also needed. Like I said, I always like to use real malware signatures or samples to do testing on antivirus systems.
Yeah.
Well, if the system gets infected because of that, you can be held liable. So
I was gonna say
it's normally not so, but yeah.
I was gonna ask you about the malware because some malware might destroy the hard disk or whatever.
Yeah, but they're just malware samples that I use. I don't install them and don't install the malware. But I always state, look, the anti-malware check, please have a good backup ready. if you know, you never know, and then you can do the testing. That's a test I never do in SAT, only during FAT.
Okay. Yeah, of course.
So there are
And what
certain
if they?
tests.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Go ahead, please. Yeah.
there are certain tests that you can never do in SAT, like the using malware samples, real malware samples in SAT. That's not really a good idea. Um, Destructive testing, like denial of service testing on a logical destructive testing, cannot be done in SAT, and so on and so on. So you have to take care on what you do during FAT, SAT.
Yeah. I mean, that's why maybe you should also please add this in the book. What we do. This is very important. Uh,
Yes.
so what if they don't have anti-malware, or do you still put malware or no?
If they
Or no?
don't have any anti-malware solution, which is very rare nowadays because every Windows system has Microsoft Defender installed by default, um, it all depends. So I do not always do the anti-malware but the real malware samples. I like to do it when they have specific, for example, USB sanitization or a specific solution that should be able to detect that you need proof that it's really detected. Um, with a regular Microsoft Defender, I don't always do that on the system when doing scanning because I know if the system is not patched, for example, it's not patched for a year, then Microsoft Defender won't be patched for a year neither. So it's no use in running a scan with the real malware signatures of, for example, 2 or 3 months ago, if the anti-malware has not been updated for a year. It has no any value at that point in time, so it's no use. The that kind of tests should be done on fully up-to-date systems and fully configured systems.
Interesting. So if somebody hears us now and he said, "Are you talking about pen testing? This sounds a lot like pen testing. Why you call it fat and sad? Like what do you answer them? Uh,
Because
it's
in my
just
opinion,
yeah.
pen testing can be part of FAT SAT testing, but it's not covering the full things that need to be done
All
during
right.
FAT SAT. I talked about looking at the physical part during FAT and SAT, the logical part, which can be partially covered by pen testing, and the logic and the human element. So the physical and the human element you can't do with real pen testing on a system. Within the logical part, if you don't have an account on the system, you won't be able to do the full system analysis of the system with pen testing. So depending on how secure the system is, with penetration testing of a system instead of FAT-CT, you will be able to find low-hanging fruit, but you will never have the full picture that you need during FAT-CT testing, because security FAT-CT testing is really there to make sure that all the requirements you have set up front are done properly. With penetration testing, you will only see part of that of those requirements checking. So, in my opinion, it is part of the testing, but not replacing the testing.
Okay, got it. Any last word, advice, anything you would like before we wrap up?
Yes, be pragmatic and trust but verify. That's what I mentioned.
Interesting. Okay. Thank you, really, Dieter, for your in-depth explanation of fat and sat, and opening my eyes, and I'm sure the audience eyes, about what really is fat testing. By making it very interesting and very, I say, colorful and dynamic, like hacker style stuff like that. Yeah, you made me look at now fat and sat differently. Really, it looks interesting. Yes.
Thank you for the
Thank
opportunity. And if there's
you.
any questions after the listening to the podcast or looking at podcast, you can always reach out to me as well.
Sure. Where can we find you?
Just I'll put my contact slide online just a second.
Okay.
Just to present their screen. These are my contact details.
Where
Just
are
a second. Sharing. Now
Yeah,
we should see
sure.
it.
All right.
It's coming.
Yep. Secudea.
Yeah, that's my company. But you can reach me on socials as well: LinkedIn, email, X, Mastodon, Blue Sky, or have a look at my blog. It's on there as well.
Okay. You blog, huh? Okay.
Yeah.
You do about Fat and Sat as well, or
Also, yes, it's also on there. It's been a while since I posted my last blog, but I plan on releasing a new one in the coming weeks, months.
Interesting. Okay. What does Secudea mean?
Security ideas.
Yeah. Very creative. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we bring your security ideas to life within OT.
Nice name. Yeah, creative.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, I mean, thank you everybody for watching this episode. I hope you enjoyed it and learned something new. See you next time. Bye bye.